going on, my hunters? Rhymestyle here, and today I bring another Hunter x Hunter manga review. Today we're discussing the incredibly amazing, twistful chapter 357 of the series. Now before I start, I do want to point out that the gameplay in the background right now is Heaven's Arena from Battle All-Stars, and that first match right there is pretty badass. The power of Sniper, Winged Metal at 6 stars, he's a beast. And also you'll see a bunch of other fights with the top players in Heaven's Arena as well as a couple friends. So enjoy that while we discuss chapter 357. So the big prediction that everybody's been trying to make for the last couple weeks is who is going to win this fight between Hisoka and Chrollo. And we finally got to the point where the fight's over. So to those who guessed it was going to be a tie, you were close. Hisoka somehow managed to survive, and then from the looks of it, he tried out a brand new trick. The trick was he basically made his lungs and his heart pump again, and from there, after death, it just kind of activated his network. I'm a little confused how this works because, like, logically speaking, and using science to explain this, it's kind of hard. But essentially, he resuscitated himself outside of the fight after it ended, hours later or minutes later. I'm not really sure how much time passed, but sometime after, and then he comes back to life. We see him surrounded by Machi, Kortopi, and Shalnark, who were there for. I guess he hired Machi to heal him because he assumed that he was going to need our help after he wins this fight, and surprise, surprise, he lost the fight. And this is when we get the big twist. The big twist. Hisoka gets up and he wages war against the troupe. That's something I never expected to happen. And I'm a little confused because I guess now he's trying to basically fight Chrollo again, from my understanding. He's trying to fight Chrollo again, but not in his own playing field, essentially. So from the looks of it, it's like he challenged Chrollo, he lost, and now he's like, you know what? I probably shouldn't have gone that far. We're going to go ahead and fight, but we're going to do it on my terms. And I'm eliminating every single one of you guys. Because I guess in a way, he probably sees the troupe as a reason to why he lost. Because essentially, Chrollo used the abilities of the troupe to fight him. So are we going to get to the point where we get a rematch between Hisoka and Chrollo, in which case, who would win that time? I got to go with my boy Hisoka, especially now because technically, Nen becomes stronger after death, and he technically died. And I don't know, it's a little confusing, but it's pretty badass. Now, let's talk about Hisoka's revival. So he gets up, and Machi's like, do you want me to sit you up? Do you want me to fix you up? And he's like, nah, I got this. This man uses his own abilities to basically recreate his fingers, recreate his hands, recreate everything that he lost in that fight, and he was back like nothing happened. That is an incredible power, number one. And number two, he kills Shalnark and Kortopi. Yeah, that happened. Poor Kortopi, I mean, he was just minding all his business, living his own life, creating copies of stuff, and then there he is dead. And same thing with Shalnark. So he's already taken out 2. The only thing that was kind of surprising is that he did not kill Machi when he had a chance, because he attacked her first. And I think what's going to happen is he probably has some kind of, like, not feelings towards Machi, but he probably, like, feels like he should not take on Machi just quite yet, just because of their past, I guess. You know, he's always had Machi basically fix him up. They had like a relationship back in the day, not like a relationship, but like a friend relationship type of thing. And he probably feels like, oh, you know what? This is just, you know, you good. You're gonna be my warning to the troops. So go tell everybody that I'm hunting y'all down. But the other thing I want to point out is Chrollo seems to be now the bad guy of the series, because we see him briefly talking on the phone, and he's talking about this trip to the Dark Continent to get the princess, I believe. That's what it was. So looks like Chrollo is now moving the stage to becoming that villain for the rest of this arc, I think. Possibly, maybe. Not really sure yet. At this point, Togashi is kind of taking this story again in his roller coaster trips. Like always, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen, which direction it's going to take. But at least now we're past this fight, and I cannot wait to see Madhouse animate this whenever it happens. Now, to answer that question, people have been always asking, will this get animated? Will this get animated? Will this get animated, Rhymestyle? What do you know? Well, to be honest right now, I know literally nothing. But what I do know is that Madhouse's team, when they completed Hunter x Hunter, they did say if they ever get the position where they can continue the series, they would. Obviously, Togashi kind of disappeared. He left for a long time, and they had no story to really make an anime on, and they don't really do filler. So that's kind of the situation they were left in. But now that we're actually getting this arc, I feel like what's going to happen is when it gets finished, Madhouse will then jump in. So let's say that if he manages to finish a series, let's say this year, which is really unlikely, but let's say for whatever reason he decides to rush through a series to finish it this year, then maybe at the top of next year, or if not now, Madhouse can start working on the series and then give us the series next year. So that's kind of how it has to work. Essentially, you need manga material first. You need this first. You need to get all of this first. All of this first. And then we can get an anime out of it. So let's cross there that Togashi completes the series right now without any breaks. The other thing I'll point out is I feel like because Togashi is like literally tying up every single loose end possible, this is going to be the final arc. This is indeed going to be the last one. It's going to wrap up the story. We'll have one last adventure. It's probably going to be more amazing than the Chimera Ant arc was, but ultimately it's going to wrap up everything. Because I mean, he's killing off the troupe. He's killing off the troupe next. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I feel what's going to happen is if we get to the position where it's Kurapika and Chrollo and Hisoka, Hisoka will let Kurapika do the deed. He will have, like, they'll probably do the fight, possibly, but he'll definitely let Kurapika do the kill. Because at the end of the day, all Hisoka wants is a good fight, and all Kurapika wants is the troupe dead. So if it comes down to that, I feel like that could happen. Now, the quick question I have for you guys now is, who is your favorite troupe member and why? With me, I gotta go with Phaeton, just because he reminds me so much of Hiei, and Hiei was like one of my favorite anime characters of all time at the time, especially during Yu Yu Hakusho series. Essentially, they're the same person. I mean, black hair, super fast sword, pretty smart. Well, even though Phaeton's technically not that smart, he's kind of like very, what's the word? Not smart, but like, you know, he's kind of in the middle. He's like street smart. And he's a badass. On top of that, his ability that he used against the Chimera Ants, against Zazan, incredible. So I gotta go with Phaeton for that, but man, it's gonna be interesting to see him take out everybody else, because like, obviously he took out the easy ones first. Shalnark's ability, if Shalnark had a chance to activate his Super Saiyan ability, is what I like to call it, his autopilot mode, then, you know, maybe Hisoka might have some trouble, but he didn't get a chance to do that. Essentially, Hisoka doesn't even seem to be out for a fight right now. He's out for killing them. Because he killed Kotopi. I mean, Kotopi's kind of defenseless in the first place. He is just kind of that guy who creates copies of stuff. That's all he can really do. But Shalnark can fight, and then he can mostly fight if he has his autopilot ability. But from what we saw, Hisoka went right for the kill. So my theory is he's killing off all the troupe members first, so he can fight Chrollo again without having to worry about their abilities. I think that's what he's doing. I don't know, if it's too far-fetched, let me know your own theories as to why you think Hisoka's going after the troupe members. Maybe it's for another reason, or maybe he's just trying to pay back Kurapika for some reason, which I also don't think that's the case, because even though Hisoka is kind of a good guy down at heart, he's kind of on his own, essentially. So that's just how his character's always been. But ultimately, oh my gosh, this fight was absolutely insane. And also, it's funny, one last thing, two things actually. Number one, if you have not read it yet, read the Hisoka backstory. It's incredible. The art's kind of mad, but it's because it was literally scratched on like a rough draft, essentially. It's basically a storyboard that was released that explains kind of like the background of Hisoka, how he got his abilities and all that stuff. It's pretty cool, pretty badass. Two, earlier this week, they had a leak of Hisoka's head. And everybody thought that was going to be the leak from chapter 357. And the only reason why I thought it was legit is because at the end of the, well, shoot, it's gonna kind of spoil to the backstory. There's something that happens in the backstory that involves a face, and I thought that head that leaked essentially was going to be like a fake head with Texas Surprise, and then Hisoka was going to jump out and kill Chrollo. That was my initial belief after I saw that leak, and unfortunately I saw a leak, and I'm glad it was a fake leak, but when I saw a leak I was like, damn it, spoiled, but I know it's going to happen. That didn't happen. Instead, we got freaking Hisoka over here with the ability to come back to life. Now the question is, we know that Nen becomes a lot stronger after death. The question is how much stronger do you actually become? That's all I want to know. What does this mean for Hisoka? Like, are his abilities just like, was he able to basically recreate his entire body because his Nen is just that much more powerful? Because it's revealed, like I said, a couple chapters ago that a Nen user's Nen becomes stronger after death. And Hisoka technically died, came back to life, and now he is stronger. What does that mean for round 2? So there's so many questions here, and I guess all we can really do is wait until next Thursday to see what else happens as we go further into the Dark Content series. Now, even though I've been saying this for the last 2 chapters, I think next week, instead of continuing on the Hisoka story, we're finally going to get a glimpse of Killua and Gon, which I'm okay with now. If you go to the next group of characters in the story, in this arc, I'm okay with it because we're kind of like at peace with what's going on with the Hisoka stuff. So I'm curious to know what Gon and Killua are up to and what's going to happen to Gon's abilities, because if you guys remember, Gon did lose his Nen. He lost his Nen after the big happening that happened at the end of the anime. So if you have any predictions as to what you think is going to happen with Gon, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Ultimately, honestly, I think he's going to become a specialist essentially, and he's going to get his Nen back. And I'm calling right now, but I think Gon at some point is going to have the ability to control his transformation. Like Beastgate is able to transform back into her giant form and then basically suppress herself into kid form. I think Gon can do the opposite with that, where he can basically be the kid, but also transform into the adult version at will. I'm calling it right now. That's gonna happen at some point. It's gotta happen. I mean, at this point, anything that sounds impossible in the series is like very much possible. So it's very plausible, essentially. It's very plausible. And if Gon can tap into the power essentially that's equal to the king, what does that mean for the series? There's a lot of awesome stuff and a lot of questions that are just waiting to be answered. In fact, if you have any questions about the series, feel free to write down in the comment section below so I can see what the community is kind of hyped about and what everybody's talking about, essentially. But ultimately, 2 thumbs up. That fight, the outro was incredible, and I am excited for next week. So yeah. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on chapter 357 of Hunter x Hunter. Don't forget to check out Battle All-Stars as well, which you see in the background of this as I'm losing and winning a couple fights at Hammond's Arena. And other than that, if you enjoyed today's video, if you're hyped for the next chapter, leave a like right below, and I will see all you awesome hunters in the comment section below. Peace.